Harris Hall for the May 2nd regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Good to see you all here this morning. It's going to be a great day, I can tell right from the start. Ms. Mokrajewski, good morning.
Good morning.
Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
To the board? I see none. Any emergency business to conduct today?
No, we do not.
I see none. Then we'll move directly into public comments. We'll first entertain public comments from those of you present in Harris Hall. It'll be followed by public comments from anyone who may be present online. So when your name is called, please step to the mic, identify yourself. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you're here in Harris Hall in person, keep an eye on the clock on the wall. You'll receive a 30-second audio signal at the point in time when you have 30 seconds to summarize. If you continue much beyond the 3 minutes, then I'll ask you to conclude and move along to the next speaker. Written testimony is always welcome. So the first person we have in today's in Harris Hall today is Ron Thompson. And Mr. Thompson, you're the only person signed up in Harris Hall.
Hello, my name is Ron Thompson. I'm a resident of Springfield, zip code 97478, 816 South 72nd Street. I've come to you today because I want to talk about innovation and development looking into the near future. The next 4 years will be a transitional period in technology and opportunity. The issues at hand are we will be needing better hardscapes, such as roadways and so forth. We will be needing more electrical capacity due to transitioning from ICEs to electric vehicles. And we will also have the opportunity to become use our water resources to improve basically carbon sequestration and other issues, but we also could improve our farming and biome use significantly if we undertake these ideas and issues seriously. The biggest points are that it's going to take a lot of investment, and having talked with several staff members about how they approach grant writing and so forth, it is, in my opinion, that we need to invest in grant writers because over the next 4 years, we're going to need to ask 75 million taxpayers for $28 each through the federal system in order to pay for the improvements and developments that are necessary to anticipate the future needs. We're also, Lane County has a great tradition of being innovative in facilitating change. As we developed a test beds program in the 80s between Goshen and Cresswell for concrete laid hardscape that lasted 40 years before it needed to be replaced. And we have done a great deal of bridge work and so forth. Some of the needed things are going to have to be collaborative because we'll have to talk to several counties to combine to get more and more federal grants available. We'll also need to coordinate with our state and federal representatives in order to secure and consolidate our ability to have future impacts. And overall, I will be providing a consolidated and gradated plan of addressing these issues, but and so I look forward to working with you in the future.
Right on. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. No one else is signed up in Harris Hall, so Ms. Jones, I'll ask you, has anyone signed up online?
Thank you, Chair Farr. Yes, I do have one person signed up online.
Then before we begin, Ms. Jones, I'll mention that today we are beginning a slightly different protocol. Anyone who is testifying online may, at their option, use the camera, so they can actually participate with a visual, which will be on the screen. That is an option for the speaker. The standard protocol applies to anyone testifying on camera as applies to in Harris Hall. And the posted The posted protocol is here in Harris Hall and online. So, Ms. Jones, with that, I'll turn it over to you for online testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Farr. At this time, I see Chris McAllister has raised his hand to present. Mr. McAllister, I'm going to unmute your microphone, and one moment. You're self-muted, Mr. McAllister. Would you like to be able to use your camera? If so, I will change your status in the meeting, and we'll have you on camera too, or if you just like to give oral testimony, you can begin.
I'd be happy to use the camera, ma'am.
Okay, let me go ahead, and you should see a button come up on your phone that asks you to accept promotion to be a panelist. Okay. And now you should be able to unmute your camera and be on screen. There you are. And you will need to unmute your microphone one time as well.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair,
And now you may be.
Thank you. My name is Chris McAllister, and I'm a Springfielder. I'd like to start off this morning with a quote and 1.5 verses, as Scripture seems to speak to some more than others. The greatest single cause of atheism in the world today is Christians who acknowledge Jesus with their lips and walk out the door and deny him by their lifestyle. That is what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable. That was said by Brendan Manning. First, where there are no oxen, there are clean mangers. Where there is an abundance of crops, there are dirty mangers. That's Proverbs 14:4. Next, I will have, be ye kind one to another, forgiving one another. That's Ephesians 4:32. The rest of that one is between the reader and their deity. Springfield is being told to rely on the county, who redirects us, according to staff at last night's meeting of the council, back to the churches, who are concerned about trash and lowering congregation numbers, which then leads our people back to public property, where they are being banned in pursuit of our, quote, clean mangers, unquote. There is no love, there is no grace, and no kindness in a circle where it makes nonprofits the finders of our fallen, and churches become part of the dehumanization process through actions encouraged by the body who has claimed this as their scope of work. This is what an unbelieving community simply finds unbelievable. Our people, our truth. John O'Neill died this weekend in Junction City because Springfield has no place for its dying homeless veterans. We need to do better. We must do more. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your service while serving the unhoused of Springfield, Eugene, all of Lane County. But we have a scope of work that is diminished by people who would rather have clean streets than be their brother's keepers, to make sure that the hope can foster and be realized, and that we can be embracing our poor and helping raise them up, lift them up in the spirit of a community. We will have higher providers when we have no longer people taking the public dollars, but bringing in tax dollars, because they were seen, they were heard, and they were not forgotten. There are more veterans on our streets now than we had 10 years ago because we have not kept up. Our Springfield homeless are pushed into Eugene because my community, where I am from, and I spent 8 years on those streets, are pushed into another community and denied. We must do more, and we must reach out and meet people where they are. Low barrier does not mean no rules. Harm reduction does not mean tacit permission for everything wrong. Our staff know these truths, and I implore you to listen to your staff, from Public Works to Public Health, rather, to the Human Service Division. Your people know. That's why we have hired them, and that's why we keep them and support them. Please let them have solutions so we can raise all of our communities up. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. McAllister. Any further testimony, Ms. Jones?
Mr. McAllister was the only person signed up for public comment, so I'll return the meeting to you.
And thank you, Ms. Jones, and we'll come back to Harris Hall. I'll look around Harris Hall. Is anyone else present in Harris Hall who wishes to provide testimony to the Board of County Commissioners? I'm seeing none. I will close the public comment and invite remonstrances or response from the Board of County Commissioners. I'm looking around, and I'll begin with Commissioner Lovall.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mr. McAllister brings up a wonderful and poignant point to our approach to the homelessness and the people that are in crisis. Springfield is a place that still believes that people need care and they want to do care. I think that Springfield's also a place, as he illustrates, is that we don't want to embrace old old plans that don't work, but we want to be involved in people's lives. And I think that's a great call to all of us to remember that it takes people willing to be with hurting people to make people well. So I think that message that he did today resonates well with me. I also appreciate Ron Thompson, who said that, perhaps in the future, our past practices may not get us to a better future. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say so we can chart a path forward that's of a brighter future for all of us. So thank you both for your testimonies. I appreciate it, and it resonated with me very well this morning. So thank you.
Any further remonstrances or response from the Board of County Commissioners? Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Just a brief comment. I might be beating you to the punch, but today's opening day of the Lane County Farmers Market Tuesday Market.
Hey.
And it's just so great to sit here and look out the window and see the tents going up, and just encourage everyone to support our small local farms from all over Lane County and buy some tasty local produce this afternoon. And also yesterday was May Day, which is a traditional time for workers to stand up in support of one another in solidarity for the kinds of protections and compensation that they deserve. And so I just want to appreciate everyone in our community who works so hard to make the community what it is, and particularly as a segue to an item we have coming up, Lane County employees. Thank you, Chair.
Hey, now I have nothing to say, Vice Chair Trieger.
You're welcome.
Actually, I do. Thank you very much. If you have a chance, just turn around right now and you'll see a building that is a years-long collaboration between the City of Eugene and Lane County. It's the Lane County Farmers Market Building, designed for year-round use, and ultimately will be a year-round farmers market. The farmers were deeply involved in the process that got us to this point. You'll recognize that it is on former county land. That's where the Butterfly parking lot used to stand. And now it's a very active farmers market. And today, beginning today, Vice Chair Trieger, we'll see a lot of activity. I know where I'm going at lunchtime. So the second thing I'd like to do, while Mr. McAllister is still here, is thank you personally, Mr. McAllister, for your deep personal involvement from its inception with the Poverty and Homelessness Board and many of the committees that are subsets of the Poverty and Homelessness Board. Thank you also for the multi-agency collaborative work that you're doing with a number of jurisdictions to implement the Governor's Emergency Homelessness Order 23-02. With that, we'll move down the agenda and close this portion of the agenda, moving directly into Mr. Mokrycki, something we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, this is the fun part of our board meetings that we've missed for quite a while, and to the new commissioners, this is something that we did regularly before COVID, and like many things, the pandemic took this practice sort of away from us, and so we love to highlight great examples of our employees doing great things, and there's so much great work happening across our organization. And so we're going to get back in that practice of recognizing our employees for the incredible and innovative work that they're doing. So really excited today to have a team of folks with us from Human Resources, Technology Services, Public Works, Health and Human Services, and others. You see it's a large group, so we can't fit everyone up at this table, but what I'm going to ask, I would ask Alana Holmes if you want to come up and just, if you have any comments you want to add to this group. I will, after I make some comments, I'll call everyone's name out, and if you wouldn't mind, if you're comfortable and able to just raise your hand or stand, whatever works for you, that would be great. So we're recognizing this team for their effort on LEAP. LEAP was first implemented in February 2016, and this was Lane County's first full learning management system. This is a system that we use to provide training for all of our employees in all the different ways in which our workforce needs to be trained in the work that they do. Over time, our learning needs and technology requirements grew, and upon the expiration of the contract in the fall of 2021, our human resources staff gathered employee feedback, conducted industry research, and embarked on a comprehensive request for proposals process to update that system. So after an incredible amount of coordination and work, our upgraded LEAP platform went live on March 1st of this year, and it offers enhanced functionality and improved and more modern user interface and an integration with our new online content provider, Open Sesame, which is a really cool name. Open Sesame vastly increases the amount of personal and professional development courses available to our employees. There are hundreds of courses that are available in this system. Courses range from a few minutes to multi-hour certification preparation courses So far, the feedback that we've had from our employees and learners has been overwhelmingly positive about both the platform and our greatly improved library of training content that employees can take advantage of. So we want to take this time to recognize all of the folks here and some who are not here that were involved in the selection and implementation of the upgraded platform. This is a great example of one of our 3 core behaviors focused on solutions, particularly at a time that was still during the pandemic and there was a lot of remote and virtual activity happening. So I want to call out from Human Resources, Erin Rollins, I don't think is with us. Is she online? There she is. Erin, great to see you. Erin Rollins, our former training coordinator here at Lane County that you all know. Emily Maxon, our current training coordinator here at Lane County. I'm not going to look back, but I'm just assuming people are waving their hands or standing up. Wendy Widman from Human Resources. Ryan McBride from Human Resources. And then from Technology Services, we have Keith Califf, Dave Shunk, Jim Garner, Jordan Tucker, Joellen Moyer, Will Cordova, and David Torres. And then our department liaisons, Aravinda Crocker from Health and Human Services, Asta Stapp from Health and Human Services, online, great, and then Tekla Evanuk from Public Works. So there were a lot of other folks involved in this, but this was really the core group, and we just want to thank, and I'll offer if you have any other additional comments or specific examples of training that has been really impactful.
Thank you. Chair Farr, commissioners, really, really excited to be here today. As Steve said, an opportunity to come together in ways that we really haven't had over the last few years. LEAP is our learning management system. So you hear us talk about LEAP or the LMS. LEAP stands for Learn, Empower, Achieve, and Perform. And we really do want to express our appreciation and gratitude, not only for everyone that Steve called out today that is present with us, but the countless others that contributed to the launching of this new LMS system. The new system allows for a broad array of platform upgrades, and one of the critical upgrades was to allow for a mobile access. Many of our employees do not either sit in an office environment behind a desk with a laptop or a desktop, they're out in the field, or their jobs here, even in the PSB, don't have them sitting in an office environment every day. So that is a huge lift of equitable access to development and training for all of our employees. And also there is a large portfolio. Steve talked about hundreds of trainings. Well, let's talk about that. Currently, we have already 1,500 courses in LEAP available. This includes updated styles of learning, such as book summaries, podcasts, as well as more traditionally delivered online courses. So we also will have more to come because with Open Sesame, we have a catalog of over 25,000 trainings available to us as an organization. 25,000. So there's a variety of trainings for all kinds of needs in our organization and just personal interest for development. So this greatly expands our opportunities to do this work. We hear from employees all the time. They're interested in enriching the knowledge of the work they're doing or the career paths that they want to set in front of them. This allows us to do this in a much more robust way. So the individuals that have been called out today have been critical to our success in every step of this process. I also would like to thank all of our training coordinators that sit in every department who also were willing to test our system and to help load new training and build some training modules for the platform. So anyway, just wanted to give you a little bit more in-depth description of the work that they've done, and again, extend deep appreciation and gratitude to those before you and those that did the work.
Thank you, Director Holmes. Is that the conclusion of your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
I have a quick question before I turn it over to the commissioners. This Sesame Ouvre-toi, did it take 1,001 nights to come up with this by any chance? To the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Senega.
Yeah, I'll just start real quick by saying thank you to everyone. Being pretty new here and coming on to 2,000 employees, it's a little intimidating. And we've done a lot in these first couple of months. Commissioner Buck, I see Matt McCray back there. We went on a field trip. I've had a potluck with Devin at Ada Grange. I mean, just every time I ask somebody here at the county for something, I mean, Mike Finch, we got the company organizational chart up within a month. I mean, that's incredible. Every time I turn around, I'm always impressed with the people here at the county. And I just really want to say thank you for the onboarding that we did. And I know making me feel welcome and doing everything you guys can to help us. I see Lauren back there. He'll come by the office for an hour and we might not talk as much business as we should because we just get caught up in chatting, but that's what it's about. And so I really do appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
And I trust you spend a lot of time running with Oren.
Yes, Oren back there. Oren and Keith, thank you for opening up Public Works and getting to know all the guys twice now. That means a lot. And you have some great crews out there.
The rest of the board. Yeah, Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I too want to say thank you. Your work is absolutely appreciated, and we're thankful that you choose Lane County to work for and to provide this kind of service. Everybody deserves professional development and ongoing continuing education. It's no different for an organization of our size or those that are at the university doing it personally. It's incredible to know that folks can go on, and even if they want to grow within our organization, they can find courses and classes with collaboration with their managers or supervisors and find a path forward so that they remain here with the county. We invest greatly in our employees, and we want them to be able to develop and learn every single day. And this clearly has provided an avenue to do that. And it took a lot of effort by many of you, and it sounds like some more folks that weren't even able to come today, but you're all greatly important to our organization, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Buck. Vice Chair Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. I will just add my general appreciation, but also this in particular, Lane County, the depth and breadth of what we do, most people in the community don't understand that. They don't recognize what they're doing is interacting with county services. The most common question I get when I'm out in community is, what does a county commissioner do? What's the county? What is that? It's a layer of government that's really invisible to a lot of people. And even within the organization, behind the scenes work is often invisible, and that's so much of what this highlights is, there's that image of an iceberg where you just see the little tip above that's sort of a negative connotation, but in this case, it's that huge amount of unseen work that really shores up and makes possible for what's seen above the waterline to even happen at all. So I just really especially appreciate it. It's not an area that I am familiar with. I mean, there's a real value in people specializing, and one of the reasons we have 2,000 employees is to keep an organization that does the mission work that we do and the depth and breadth of the work going. It takes a lot of human investment and human capital. And so I appreciate everyone in this organization and what they do, but especially the sort of invisible work where you don't get to be out in community and see the impact of your work so directly. But you're working to support the organization that is serving the community, and in doing that, you're serving the community too. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Trigger. Commissioner Lovell.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. I echo all those comments, and you guys are truly trained professionals. And when I say that, I kind of go back to my sports days where, the coach would always say, "Doggone it, give 110%. And what's great about being the new commissioner is I get to meet all these people, and I have yet to meet anybody who's lukewarm, anybody who like, yeah, this is a government job. You know, I was in the Navy for 6 years, and it was always like, well, there's the Navy way and the right way of doing things, and you guys obviously do it always the right way because you have heart and passion, and you guys just come to the plate and hit a home run every time. I've got one little favorite story that illustrates the heart of how you serve, and the other day I was in a meeting where I had to go a couple of blocks, and I happened to run into Lauren in the hallway, and I didn't have the right jacket, and Lauren says, hey, Commissioner, where you going? And I'm going a couple blocks in the rain. He goes, hey, do you need an umbrella? And so he walked me to his office, gave me an umbrella so that I wouldn't get my pretty little hair wet. So I just, I appreciate that kind of heart and soul in every one of you, and it echoes in everything you do. So I just appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Laval. And, you know, those of us in the Army love the Navy. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the ride. You know, Commissioner Trieger talked about how people don't really fully understand government and understand the different layers of government. We are blessed with multiple layers of government. And I'm blessed with the fact that I've served as a city councilor, a state legislator, and in the county. What makes the county different? What makes the county different is the uniformity of our application of services. And it really is, and it's growing even more and more uniform in the way we provide services to the people that we serve, which makes it more evident. The greatest evidence that we're doing a good job is that people don't know what we're doing. If we weren't doing a good job, they'd sure as heck let us know it. And from time to time, you know, we trip up. But the uniformity of delivery of service is based upon a robust training system. And that is exactly what you're providing. And you're providing it uniformly across the organization in new and innovative ways. Open sesame, sesame ouvre-toi, which means open now. Your mantra should be leap, open now. Leap, ouvre-toi. And open it now, because that's how we deliver services the way people expect us to deliver services, and to make it so that they aren't surprised by the services that we provide. Thank you so much. Director Holmes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then, Ms. Mokraski, we'll move on down the agenda. We do have before us a consent calendar. A consent calendar, there are items on the consent calendar today. If you're following online, click on View Material, and you will see everything that the Board of Commissioners has considered when placing these items on the consent calendar. They'll be passed with a single motion without debate, without in-depth debate. Anything that needed more debate would have been pulled from the consent calendar. Do I have a motion? Vice Chair Trieger.
Chair, I'll move approval of the consent calendar for Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023.
I'll second that.
Moved by Vice Chair Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Lovell. Discussion to the motion? I am seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Passes unanimously. Then that is the end of our consent calendar. We'll move directly into, I'm going to just pause a few moments while the room clears. And following that, we'll move into item 7, which is our Community Justice and Rehabilitation Services. And we have before us thank you, Mr. Rickoff. We have before us Order 2305-2-04 in the matter of acknowledging and supporting the pursuit of 2023-25 Justice Reinvestment Grant Program, the JRGP funds, providing a signed letter of acknowledgement and support from the Board of Commissioners for both JRGP formula and competitive funds, and delegating authority to the Public Safety Coordinating Council, the PSCC, to sign and submit the online grant application, and to the county administrator to execute any additional grant application documents. And Mr. Rickoff, thank you for stepping up, but I'm going to go directly to D.A. Perlow, who is also the chair of our PSCC, the Public Safety Coordinating Commission. So, D.A. Perlow, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Farr, Vice Chair Trieger, Commissioners. That statement was our entire presentation to you. The legislature allocates money to the Criminal Justice Commission. Lane County has applied for those grants every 2 years for the last 10 years. It funds our programs to divert people who've committed serious property crimes from prison, to keep them in the community, to provide mentors, treatment, whatever resources they need, housing through sponsors. And so we are here with what I hope is your easiest ask of the day. Will you just sign a letter that says it's okay for us to apply for that money again?
Well, that's a simple question. Yes, no answer. Any further presentation, D.A. Perlow? Thank you very much. Anything from the board, questions or comments? Then I will say, I'll mention the PSCC, which is is a statutory role that is, it's multi-government agencies that work on a safety coordinating system for the entire region. And really, they cover a lot of the work that we need to do in public safety, but sometimes they miss a few things, and sometimes the county has to step in and do things that particularly strengthen the county's role in public safety, which is the DA's office, which is the sheriff's office, which is parole and probation, and our support of the courts. So we'll be talking more about that as we move down the road, and congratulations on assuming the chair of PSCC. And with that, do I have a motion? Vice Chair Trieger.
Chair will move approval of Order 23-05-02-04 in the matter of acknowledging and supporting pursuit of a 2023 to 2025 Justice Reinvestment Grant Program funds, et cetera, as published on the public meeting agenda.
I'll second.
Moved by Vice Chair Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck. Discussion to the motion. Then I am seeing none. We're voting on Order 23-05-02-04. And let me read this again. No, I'm not going to. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you so much for waiting through what was a pretty enjoyable presentation just before you got here, or just before you stepped to the dais. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move down our agenda to item 8A, which is County Council. And Ms. Pettigrew, welcome. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. I am joined here by two colleagues shortly, Steve Thiel and Rebecca Dorman. And I'm here to share their arrival in our office and provide you a little bit of background as to their professional experience and provide you with a couple of updates. So Rebecca and Steve have been with us now for almost a month, and they have already taken on a substantial caseload and are getting to know our clients and our legal needs and attending staff meetings and taking opportunities to get to know our county business better. Rebecca was born and raised in Indiana. After law school, she attended she worked for a Chicago title insurance company in Indianapolis, focusing on commercial real estate transactions. She and her family moved to Eugene in 2008. She graduated from U of O's Planning, Public Policy, and Management Department with a graduate degree in Community and Regional Planning. She later earned a certification through the American Planning Association AICP program. And since graduating from U of O, she has worked in local governments in a variety of settings, including as Assistant General Counsel at the League of Oregon Cities, as a development analyst and planner with the City of Eugene, and most recently as an associate attorney with the local government law group. She teaches legal issues and planning through U of O's PPPM department and volunteers on the Legislative and Public Advocacy Committee of the Oregon chapter of American Planning Association. While she gravitates towards anything land use or real property related, she has experience in a broad range of municipal legal issues and welcomes all opportunities to support Lane County's departments and excellent in public service. Steve was born and raised in Minnesota, and after graduating high school, became involved in environmental and political advocacy. He later moved west and earned a bachelor's degree in political science from Humboldt State. He attended Lewis and Clark Law School, where he focused much of his studies on environmental law. After graduating from law school in 2015, he worked as a contract attorney with civil litigation and business formation matters before accepting a clerkship right here at the Lane County Circuit Court. For the last 5 years, he has worked as a deputy district attorney, first in Josephine County and then in Benton County. And as a deputy district attorney, he gained significant litigation experience while also handling civil commitments, public records requests, and much more. Outside of work, he enjoys spending time with his family, watching soccer, and enjoying the great outdoors. And I invite you to welcome Steve and Rebecca. And Steve and Rebecca, if you have anything to say, this would be a good time.
Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, it's a real privilege to be working for the county. I look forward to a long tenure with you all.
Likewise, longer than your speech, I think. Thank you. Steve, please.
Thank you, and I appreciate a chance to say good morning and hello to everybody. I know we've all met, I think, at least briefly in person, but I look forward to working with you going forward. So happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Then you'll be happy to hear what I say next, that Sheffield United did achieve promotion to Premiership 2 weeks ago, but they have 2 more games to play. Next year, you'll see them in the best football league in the world. Very good. So to the Board of Commissioners, any words, any welcome?
Welcome.
All right.
Yeah, welcome.
Please.
I was just gonna say, you guys hit the ground running. I've been back there a handful of times. Steve, you're always on the phone, just kind of wave, and so, yeah, it's good to see you guys. We're glad to have you on.
Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you. Yes, welcome. It's been a pleasure just briefly getting to chat with both of you. Looking forward to, and I just also want to acknowledge our county council is senior to their tenure, but not by much, and just very much appreciate the excellence in hiring that you've been able to bring to us in your short time here. Thank you very much for rounding out your office with such excellent folks. Looking forward to the years to come working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Lovell.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, again, echo those statements and welcome. I learned a lot about both of you this morning. It was awesome. Your resumes are absolutely really impressive. And I look forward to, Rebecca, you and I can hack and talk about commercial property all day long. So I'm looking forward to those conversations as well. So welcome and, yeah, hit the ground running. Good for you, Al.
Well, I said welcome earlier. I have had a chance to at least chat with you both, and it's wonderful that you've chosen Lane County to work for. We really, we know that we need your expertise, and I feel like a good team you're just gonna blend right in, so thank you.
Well, I'll echo the welcome that everybody else has provided. And just a quick reminder, something that you know, you're in a very unique department. You're in the only department that doesn't have an elective head that reports directly to the Board of County Commissioners. So no other department, every other department reports to the county administrator. You are in a very singular and unique department. A lot of work. I don't need to tell you that, do I? And there's a great deal of effort that we all need to put forward into making certain we're, as I mentioned earlier, uniform in our presentation to the public and uniform in our application of the way that we do business. So there are no surprises to the public. They don't like surprises. We don't like to provide them. And that's a large part of council's job, is to help us not be a shocking, a shock element in the community. So thank you very much for being here. Benton County. I absolutely love Benton County. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Very good. Anything else?
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for the welcome. I'm just delighted to have our new teammates join us, and they're doing excellent work already. I wanted to provide 2 brief updates on our public records work. Public records has sort of become our official theme for May in our office. We have 2 projects happening. The first is in collaboration with the Office of the Public Records Advocate. We will be welcoming any Lane County employees, electeds, including yourselves, to attend a training from Yufeng Luo, who is an attorney in that office. She'll be providing a Lane County-specific training on May 22nd to describe the landscape of Oregon public records laws, our duties as custodians of public records, common errors and misconceptions about public records, as well as Lane County-specific tips and tricks. And so we're excited to offer this educational program to anyone who's interested. And that will also be our segue into our next chapter of public records innovation, which will be launching our public records management software. And to that end, we have selected, after a joint process with Technology Services, a leading vendor. That vendor is Next Request as our finalist for the software. And we are setting up opportunities for you all and any other interested member of the Lane County community to see that software, see it in action, ask questions, kind of understand how it will work. Other government partners who are currently using Next Request include LTD, the City of Oak Ridge, Yamhill County Sheriff's Office, Klamath County, Washington County, and OHSU. So this is a well-tested program relied upon by many of our other government partners, and I'm excited to share this opportunity with you all and the folks we work with every day on public records work. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Pettigrew. Public records are an important part of the work that we do, and sometimes it can be a morass, you know. We've all witnessed that. Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that. Will you be sending an email or something around with details of that May 22nd training? And is it online, in person, hybrid? Do you know yet?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yes, we'll be offering it both in person and with a remote option. It will be recorded, and so we will put it up for others to see on our intranet site if they can't attend. And we hope that this will be part of an ongoing collaboration with the Office of Public Records Advocates. So yes, I'll send out an announcement to you all and all of our Lane County employees, anyone who wants to come.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Further questions, comments? Well, thank you very much, Ms. Pettigrew. Good to see you this morning, and we'll see you around the building all day.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Give the room just a moment to clear. And at this point, I'm going to recess the Board of County Commissioners and reconvene as the joint meeting of the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Health. And Ms. O'Hara, please step forward. Cool. The single item on today's agenda is item 1A, which is a report in the matter of the Lane County 2022 Integrated Vegetation Management Program Annual Report. And Ms. Mokrajci, I'll ask you to introduce your panel.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll turn it over to Oren Schumacher, our Roads Division Manager, to introduce the item.
Great, thanks, Chair Farr, Commissioners. I'm really going to hand the bulk of this off to Melanie O'Hara, our Natural Resource Specialist, but this is our annual report as required under code to present as part of the IVM program for Lane County. With that, I'll let Melanie take it away.
Hello, Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share some details about our program. My name is Melanie O'Hara. Oops, hold on one second.
And while you cue that, Ms. O'Hara, I'll mention that we did reconvene. This is the first time we've handled this as a joint meeting of the Board of Health and Board of County Commissioners. We believed that this was appropriate to be a Board of Health issue, so thank you very much.
Perfect. Again, my name is Melanie O'Hara. I'm the Natural Resource Specialist for the Road Maintenance Division. One of my duties is handling coordination for the Integrated Vegetation Management Program here at Lane County Public Works. I focus on invasive species control efforts in the road rights-of-way, herbicide data management, and support for the Road Maintenance Division. Just wanted to briefly review the basics of our program and our progress over the last year. First, I'd like to comment on the continued adverse lingering effects of the pandemic that has placed on our program over the past 3 years. Road Maintenance Division staff continued to adapt throughout this time, evolving to safety guidelines while facing reprioritization of duties in order to continue to assist where county resources were needed the most. Staff hiring and retention issues have been very prevalent, and were so prevalent that we were unable to put into motion the herbicide program over the last 2 years. With that, annual herbicide guardrail maintenance and noxious weed control efforts were reprioritized, and no herbicide applications were made again in 2022. So a little program overview. With the approval and adoption of the Roadside Integrated Vegetation Management Program in 2016, Lane County's Road Maintenance Division operates a limited-use herbicide program in conjunction with our standard routine road maintenance efforts. We utilize an adaptive management approach to our vegetation control using various methods that include manual controls, mechanical controls, biological controls, which include the release of approved insects and pathogens that assist in population control of invasive species, cultural controls, which uses native and preferred seed mixes to create competition to help outcompete weed invaders, and then chemical controls using herbicides under our limited use application guidance. The herbicide component of our IVM program is the most regulated portion of our program, and approval required clearly defined limited uses, currently focusing on 3 roadside situations: overgrown guardrail vegetation control, noxious weed control of state-listed priority species, and the treatment of stump sprouting tree species after their removal within the right-of-way. 3 herbicide products are annually reviewed and approved by the Public Health Advisory Committee, which I have a meeting or a presentation to have the review in their June meeting. Our program follows specifications recommended by the Vegetation Management Task Force. Those recommendations are currently outlined in Chapter 15.5 of the Lane Code. Our approved products are Vaslin, which we use to combat woody and herbaceous species such as the Armenian blackberries found behind overgrown guardrails, Milestone, which is a broadleaf herbicide that we use to combat the various knapweed species we have in the county, and Ecomazepir 2SL, which has a broader target array, but we use it mainly focused on our knotweed species. At this time, we see no need for any new products to be approved. I want to provide a quick overview of our focus areas. Here are a couple examples of what could be considered our biggest vegetation control issue, which is overgrown guardrails. They present a hazard to both our work crews and the public. Not only can they become a visibility hazard on corners and curves, but as vegetation encroaches into the roadway, pedestrians and bicyclists are forced further into the travel lanes, which then presents additional safety issues on the road. If we think about how often guardrails are placed where road hazards already exist, steep embankments and dangerous curves, we can better understand how mechanical maintenance behind rails becomes a safety issue for our county employees. Another focus of the program is noxious weed control. Here are two examples of Lane County priority weed species targeted for herbicide control efforts. Japanese knotweed on the left and puncture vine on the right. Both species present their own challenges and best management practices for control efforts. Knotweed is very persistent, resprouting from the tiniest fragment and can damage pavements with its aggressive growth, and our mowers tend to assist in its spread. Puncture vine can harm pedestrians and even their dogs with the spiny seed heads that embed in shoes and shoes and feet and even pop bicycle tires. Lane County is always looking to foster and maintain partnerships that assist in targeting noxious weed species and determining priority locations for herbicide control efforts. We've worked with watershed councils, and future hope is to focus on right-of-way adjacent to natural areas within the county. The last scenario for treatments are the numerous tree species that grow within our rights-of-way that are considered stump sprouting tree species.
Say that again, please.
Right? Stump sprouting tree species. These have been limited applications in the past, but they're tree species that, when cut, grow up very bushy, brushy, and are even worse than they were as a tree. We're still working on some ways to develop a more accurate tracking of our stump treatments. Our program has incorporated safeguards for public health and safety based on recommendations from that vegetation task force. We provide 7-day advance notice to our applications, currently with signs out on the impacted roadways, as well as postings on our webpage. My contact information is provided, and I'm available to answer questions and listen to concerns. As well, biodegradable signs stating the date and product used are posted at each application site once a treatment has been made. We also continue to incorporate public accessibility and input. Our No Spray Area program provides the public with a voice, allowing them to opt out of herbicide applications that may occur within the right-of-way directly adjacent to their parcel. This program renews every 3 years. Our applicators have mobile tablets with access to program data that allows them to incorporate necessary components in real time. Here we can see a representation of what our applicators would see in the field. The red parcels are enrolled in the No Spray Area program. The green lines are the guardrails adjacent to their property, which do not receive an application, and hence they show as green. The yellow line is an adjacent guardrail that was treated, that happened to fall into our medium category, which includes vegetation encroaching within a 4 to 5 foot distance from the back of the rail. On our IVM webpage, the public can gain access to all components of the program. There's a current year dashboard and a map providing up-to-date treatment locations, all the No Spray Area enrollments, and guardrail and noxious weed locations across the county. We also track previous year summaries and treatment locations, monthly spray report summaries, and include access to our annual reports and the approved product list. The webpage is still a work in progress, but we hope to develop it as a resource for the public that includes program specifics, as well as species information and best management practices for control. This is a screenshot of our total parcel enrollment in the No Spray Area program during our current period, 578 parcels enrolled across the county. And this is kind of what we're hoping to be the big point of today's discussion, is we're finding that we do have some program constraints in addition to the staff hiring and retention issues we've been experiencing. These constraints are resulting in both inefficiencies and ineffectiveness in combating noxious weeds at the countywide scale. Noxious weed control was the underlying issue for the Vegetation Task Force and in establishing an adaptively managed integrated vegetation program. The adaptive management approach promotes flexibility in program responses to uncertainties and inefficiencies in program processes through monitoring and assessment, and we're finding that specific program requirements written into lane code are hampering our ability to achieve effective noxious weed control. And this specifically revolves around the placement of the orange signs for advance notice on the roadside. Sites for guardrail applications are developed and based on the following year's chip seal schedule. It's part of the preparatory maintenance associated with the construction program and it can encompass as many as 80 miles in a season, including numerous guardrail locations. We found that there are significant costs associated with the time needed for planning a sign set to encompass all guardrails within a road system. They go out and they place those signs and then make the treatment, and then 3 days later they go back and remove those signs. The 48-inch road signs are stolen and vandalized each year. I received a call from a restoration specialist in Coos County the year before past because he found one of our signs in the roadside dishes. We unfortunately cannot commit to a scheduled application date. Road maintenance is very reactive in nature, and our duties change from day to day, if not hour to hour. And so signs remain on location until an application can be made. Sometimes that's several weeks after placement due to changing weather patterns, shifting priorities and workloads, and we feel it kind of defeats the purpose of the advance notice. Signs trigger calls by angry constituents who believe that this is their opportunity to halt scheduled applications as well as the program itself. This was not the intended purpose of the advance notice. It was to provide constituents with the knowledge that an application is intended so they could avoid the area should they choose to do so. Again, the inability to commit to an application date makes this intention difficult to achieve. Roadside requirements restrict the flexibility needed to plan for control of state-listed county noxious weed sites. Effective treatments must account for, first, the appropriate timing of various species, treatment windows according to specific best management practices. Next, the fact that we have site locations that occur throughout the county and that weather conditions change from day to day and hour to hour, and our intentions are to always avoid the unintended impacts associated with drift or volatilization effects, which are directly associated to weather conditions. We really feel that by increasing the flexibility in timing herbicide applications and being able to readily incorporate existing workloads and required BMPs, we could utilize multiple strategies for treatment without the pressures and expectations of performing management within a tiny window of opportunity. We would hope to be able to continue this discussion with you guys, finding alternatives that fit everyone's concerns. But we feel that more flexibility would increase the county's ability to control further spread of already established infestations by focusing on outlier locations where applicators could make applications in groups of treatment areas while they're already in the vicinity. But we are interested in facilitating future discussions on a new path forward. And as always, mechanical and manual maintenance, vegetation control is the county's primary focus for our roadsides. Our herbicide component really only affects a very tiny proportion of our 1,400 miles of roads. We have no plans for any product changes or requests for additional products this year. The past 2 years will definitely show as a departure from our anticipated forward path for the program in regards to treatment numbers. And we do continue to focus on ways that we can improve all components of our program. We're always looking for ways to broaden our knowledge base, and we continue keeping up with current applicator license requirements. In closing, our program is always looking for our opportunities for partnerships, outreach, and education in noxious weed management. We intend to continue to present accessible and accurate information in the hopes of providing insight into our program management processes from planning stages through monitoring and review. I thank you, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you for the great presentation. I love the pictures. I had asked you
There you go.
I asked you last week if you'd show them, and there they are. So I have a couple of curiosities before I turn it over to the board, and no need to answer this first one right now. We're on a 2-year after following a 2-year hiatus. I'm curious to see what kind of catch-up work needs to be done there. And you can, after other commissioners discuss, they may have the same question. And the second one is that today's packet, the board packet, says there's no action required, just a discussion. But it sounds as though we're beginning to consider the future use of roadside signs or prior notice to application. That's not for discussion and decisions today, but it's an ongoing discussion, I believe, that we're going to be having.
Yes.
Perfect. Then I'll turn it over to the board for questions or comments. Commissioner Senegal.
So, I mean, what exactly would that look like if you didn't have the signs? Just because I've, in the rural areas, obviously, so I'll start with saying the guardrail protection is huge, especially now with all the reflectors that are going on guardrails. We put up all these pretty guardrails so you can see where the corners are, and if it's overgrown in briars, what are we doing that for? Secondly, farmers actually get calls because they think they're their signs, and then we put our signs out, and then the farmers are getting calls or they're getting stopped asking why they're spraying here and what they're doing. And then if a farmer is spraying and they don't see signs, people are accustomed to seeing signs. So it's kind of that double-edged sword, and I'd really like to look into some other options for you guys. I think it could help our constituents and our public works. I think this is a great idea. I'd like to explore this further.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further discussion? Commissioner Buck?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate knowing the challenges that you're coming up against. I suspect that they've been gradual over the years, and then during the pandemic when you're not able to do it, and then suddenly we're doing it again, might create some confusion for people who, I don't know, maybe they forgot that this happens in their neighborhood, or they moved in and it's new to them. I was thinking, well, maybe we should make the signs permanent, but if they steal them, that doesn't help the situation at all. And it's really frustrating to hear that so many are being taken down, because that's basically not allowing the public to have their due notice for what's happening in their neighborhood. So I'm interested in hearing what kind of solutions and suggestions you might bring forward in a future meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Buck. For the discussion. Commissioner Lavelle, none. Vice Chair Trigger.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I think holograms is the answer. We need to get to holographic signs that we can turn on and off and can't be vandalized. I appreciate the presentation. I just wanted to note, I do appreciate that we gavel in as the Board of Health for this. This is a matter of public health. I think that is actually part of the statute, if I'm not mistaken, that we do this as the Board of Health, because of the impact, because, groundwater runoff and drift from the wind don't have municipal boundaries, don't even really have county boundaries, but that's a different conversation. But I also am just flagging this to note, as I mentioned during the employee recognition, so much of the community doesn't see our work or understand it, and as the Board of Public Health, people don't understand what public health impacts look like and how particularly a department like Public Works intersects with or has public health implications. So I'm really glad that we get to do this, hear this presentation under that authority, because that does give us, if need be, a different authority in terms of passing policy that impacts the footprint of Lane County, not just the unincorporated areas like much of our other policy work. So thank you, good work, and I look forward to hearing what solutions you come up with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair, Vice Chair Trigger. And once again, thanks for a great presentation. So what about the backlog? Are we going to find a huge, massive knotweed and puncture weed?
So I'll be honest, most of our noxious weed sites, we are unable to put control efforts forth. We have a knotweed site on Northwest Expressway, which we kind of experimented with some different control methods, and we found that mowing that site about by June and allowing regrowth to come back up to a 3 to 4 foot height rather than a 6 to 10 foot height gave us very good application coverage in the fall when the plants are translocating and bringing all their nutrients back down to the root system. They bring the herbicide with it. So these best management practices are proven and they work. For the noxious weeds, though, the difficulty is that those different species have timing different throughout the summer. Some are in the rosette stage prior to blooming, some are during blooming, some are in the fall when translocation is occurring. And the signs would be up all summer long if it were, if we were taking advantage of that in order to make these applications. And we have just found that that's not conducive to anything. It doesn't help anyone as far as notifications go. And it kind of ties our hands in the long run. So we haven't made a lot of progress to this point with this program across the county for noxious weed sites. That site on the Northwest Expressway hasn't come back. So after 2 years of fall treatments, we had, I think it was 2021, we had a few canes come up. We used a hack and squirt, a cut method directly to each of those canes. And last year we had no return. So fingers crossed we see that again this year. But those are the things we'd like to be moving forward with in trying to take the program, utilize what practices work best for our methods and what we're capable of, and then seeing results from those.
And I'll add a couple of things. There's two topics that I'd like to touch on before we conclude today. I'll follow up to what Melanie just said to Commissioner Farr's thing. The backlog issue, part of the code also states that every 3 years we do a roadside inventory. So we continue to try to hire some U of O or Oregon State or other collegians who might be listening for some summer jobs to do our inventories across the road system. And hopefully that'll give us a better understanding of truly what the workload will be for us in the future. We've done that twice. This will be our third iteration since it was put into code. The other part about the signs and constraints that Melanie brought up is that the goal of the code, since I've been on this since 2005, really hearing from the public, the PHAC, the Public Health Advisory Committee, the commissioners and others involved, it was really a goal of transparency. And the signs were one of those methods that we all had agreed upon at the time would be one way to improve the transparency of applications on county roads. As you move through a program and you evolve and adapt, you find that some of those goals on paper maybe don't manifest themselves very effectively on the ground. These signs seem to be that thing for us right now. There are ways, and we hope to come back to the board with some options to maintain the goal of transparency and yet improve the efficiency of the program. And that may be working to remove the signs and yet replace that outreach with another form. There are ways now with technologies that will satisfy probably a lot of people through the web-based platforms where they can access that information. There's also potentially some more rural residents who may have limitations there who can access it through some phones, or we have a call line that they can call on a weekly basis to get educated about what's happening that week. So we have some ideas that we'd like to bring back to the board. It is currently a code, so this is in Chapter 15. So if we do that, we'd have to go through the code amendment process to ensure that we do the proper way of modifying what we feel is a need to do in the program. But through all the years, since 2005, since I've been here, and we've begun to implement with hiccups as we go, the program is still very intact. It's hitting all the targets that we're hoping to get, yet the production issues with us are being limited by one small thing that we hope we can bring back to the board and discuss some potential changes in the future.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions, but first, Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that. When you said access through their phones, it made me think, is another option potentially, I know this would be opt-in, so it would take a while to get sort of critical mass of people engaged, but like an alert system, the way we have for many other things, weather events and so on, where people, I know those can be geocached and people can be notified when something's going to happen in their area, and that way it is actually notified when it's actually happening and not when we hope it is and then the weather gets in the way or what have you. Is that a possible option?
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to look into. We haven't really checked in with our great TS folks about what are those options that they can make happen really quickly and easily. So we'll kind of digest that and figure out what we can do and bring some of those options back to the board in the future.
Thank you.
In the movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Governor Pappy O'Daniel has a really effective method. It's just a truck with speakers on the side. You just drive around. Works very well in that application. Any further questions? Then I'm just going to say this, and this is no slam, Mr. Mokrycki, on the other work we do as county commissioners, but I've spent the absolute best days of my life as a county commissioner with the asphalt crews and sitting up there with the smell of fresh asphalt and on the beautiful days that you do it. But one thing that they pointed out to me early is how the roadside vegetation gets underneath the asphalt and actually causes a deterioration that exacerbates the safety issue. Did we get behind on that particular element of treatment, or do we have a catch-up to do there?
So our herbicide program is not a broadcast roadside program. So unlike most counties in the state, we don't just make applications along the roadside to control that vegetation in particular. I'll let Warren touch on the detriments to it.
You know, everything's a give and a take. There are impacts from vegetation right up on road edge, but there's also benefits from it. Are we going to see more water retention and other impacts to the road shoulders from vegetative growth? Absolutely. But what we also see is improved stormwater filtrations and other, benefits that we get from that. So it's a huge kudos to the Lane County Road staff. A lot of the internal staff have actually become very innovative. There's a couple of employees who have actually designed and fabricated tools to improve our ability to manage that edge effect. So we have adapted. Is it come with problems? Yes. That's why a lot of DOTs and other counties spray their roadsides to ensure that they don't have those impacts. But they're also seeing through the new stormwater management programs across the state that they're going to see impacts from that as well. So I think Lane County's done a great balance of the benefits and impacts from this vegetation management program we have. But I look into the future, what I've seen is a great resolve in the employees who do the work to find ways to beat it. So I think we're doing okay.
Bravo, what a superb response. You're turning Scotch moss into lemonade. I love it. And really, that's what Leroy and the rest of the crew members, as they lay, they continually are pointing out what they do on an ongoing basis to manually take care of the worst issues, particularly around driveways.
Yeah. And maybe that'll give me one more moment to highlight one thing. I don't want to keep chatting, taking your time today, but one of the new paradigm shifts that is occurring in our sector of work is the fire ecology component. So having vegetated edges where, chain drag, fuel exhaust, hot bottom cars, accidents can trigger fires on road edges, and not having that break in the fuels can be more and more of an impact. And we are hearing from constituents a lot more about that concern because we are a mechanical program, which carries its own risks when you're mowing in the summer. So for commissioners who want to come out and see the program, we are very adaptive. We work with our Oregon Department of Forestry and our agency partners to ensure we're meeting all the requirements with fire suppression tools and trained crews. But it still does carry the fact that there is a fuel load. And 5 years ago, I don't know if we heard this very often. Usually around the 4th of July, we'd hear some concerns about it with fireworks. But now we're starting to hear it in June all the way through the summer, this awareness and shift in the public's awareness to fire concerns. So we are seeing a kind of a new focus that hadn't been there before. So we will continue to bring that to the board if it arises within our program to keep you aware.
Excellent. Well, for me personally, I could talk about asphalt all day long because I'm a former Tillamook asphalt paver, and it's some of the best things that we do. The smell of asphalt early in the morning, there's nothing quite like it. Commissioner Buck.
I appreciate you adding that information. I, of course, see our mowers go up and down my road every summer, but I do tend to get more calls when it starts to get high and dry. And then they ask me, and then I usually email you and say, okay, when do you think you're coming out? So they have some kind of expectation about when you're going to be there. And sometimes, usually it's due to like a weather break that you're waiting for or whatnot. But I would anticipate that those calls will come more frequently over the years, and being able to get your crew out there when it's not 5 foot tall, but 2.5 foot tall or whatever, it is going to be really important going forward. And I think that's just a cultural change that we'll have to adjust to over time.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And for us, just so you guys know, we actually started mowing today. We do 2 passes a year on all the county roads. That's our chief goal. We don't always succeed at it, but we do what's called the safety pass, which is just a side flail, kind of the first 4 slope of each of the roads. So we get through it fast. But think about it today is that we start mowing right now. And if you guys mow your own yard, you'll find that a week after we've been through, it's already back to tall. And the problem with that is that we only have mowers that can go through each of those roads one cycle. So they're going to be back after, maybe 10 weeks beyond that first mow. And so by that time, that grass is now tall and dry. And there's not much we can do without completely doubling or tripling our mowing program, which is very costly, and I don't see that succeeding. So we'll continue to face that challenge moving forward with the fire regime stuff and those conversations around that. But they are working. We do partner and we manage through the fire season. You'll see our crews shift to a 4 a.m. start as we get into the regulated ODF fire season. And then we will have a lot of shutdowns now, which we used to not have in the past. So when we get to where the humidities are too low or the winds are too high, our crews will cease operations to prevent creating wildfires. And so that creates its own risks on the back end of having tall vegetation. So we're continuing to adapt and modify our program in this new kind of fire paradigm that we're seeing.
Well, thank you. May 2nd is a great day in history. A Red Letter Day 2023 is the opening of Farmers Market and the opening of mowing season. Vice Chair Trieger.
Thank you. Just briefly, and for the public record and public education, would you like to say how many miles of county road we are responsible for maintaining?
Sure, and I'll double it. So we have 1,400 miles of county roads, but what that means in mowing is that you have to double that because each road has a left and a right. So it's 2,800 plus miles of mowing every year.
Wow. That's a lot of roads. Well, it's intriguing work. You know, we all should spend a little bit of time working with the men and women who are actually really probably the most outward-facing part of Lane County, the roads we drive on, the work we do to maintain them. So thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. Thanks for the pictures. If you send them along, I'll post them in my window so everybody can see them. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Take care.
That was a blast. And I quoted Papio Daniel and Robert Duvall. So moving down the agenda, I will now adjourn the joint meeting of the Board of Commissioners and Board of Health and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Mr. Mokranz.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering if, since we have a few minutes, we could move county administration announcements and cover our election update as we have our clerk here.
I noticed that our clerk was in the back of the room, so I was going to ask you if that would be the case, so
Yeah.
wonderful. I didn't vote yet.
Okay.
But we
Come
do
on up,
have
Dina.
stickers on the end of the counter here.
Back by popular demand, I've been replaced in my updates on elections because we have a far superior presenter for you. So Dina Dawson, our clerk, is here to give you an update and also show you some visuals, some really exciting improvements that continue to be made to continue to make our elections open and accessible to everybody. Dina.
Thank you. Good morning. Diana is assisting with doing some visual presentation for you this afternoon. Again, Dina Dawson, County Clerk, for the record. And today our update, I'm very proud to announce that we have gone live with what we are calling our results dashboard. So from our website, you'll see that on the column on the right, there are multiple, what we're calling quick links. Live streaming is right on top. And, our drop sites are there, our results posting schedule, but clicking on the results dashboard will take you to what we just made live before I dashed over here this morning. We started working on the framework for this election results dashboard with Tina and Allie last November. And we put a pause on it to get through the general election, but over the last couple of months, we have been meeting every couple of weeks to fine-tune this data and make it available. This dashboard will allow users just at the touch of one button to see exactly where we are in the processing of ballots. This ties together directly with our live streaming and the meaningful observation, so voters or just curious folks are able to go online to follow. We process ballots on Monday. On Tuesday, you'll be able to see what that looks like. Yesterday was the first day that we started processing ballots. These are the results here. So at first glance, you can see that there are currently 274,714 active registered voters in Lane County. Yesterday, there were 2,472 ballots that were processed and that were collected through the USPS and drop sites yesterday.
I'm sorry, can you say that number again?
I'm sorry, there were 2,472 ballots collected, right in the center there. That equals 1% turnout so far, and that's typical in this style of an election and this early on. If you look to the left, you can see ballots returned by date, and Diana, if you can hover over the 2419 number in that corner, you can see broken down the ballots by drop site and mail ballots are represented below in ballots returned by source. So Diana, can you move over to the left where it says 48 ballots? Just right next to it. I'm so sorry. Yep. And so that information is broken down by date as well. I believe that when you're hovering over that date, maybe click on that. I'm so sorry. We just went live with it just this morning. There we go. Do you see the results by source will change? So voters or constituents will be able just to look to see, of those 48 ballots that were returned, what was the source of that? Did they come through the mail, a drop site, or the counter, or an office ballot drop? The next map graphic that's there is the breakdown by precinct. So voters can either use the map and zoom in and find their precinct, or with the drop down, you can select your precinct and see the number of ballot returns by precinct. Thank you so much. And then additionally, one column over is the ballots returned by district. And so you can filter down, you can choose, there you go, the drop down, you can choose what district would I like to see. Would I like to see results by schools? So if you were to select the school district, it would show all of the schools and the ballots returned, and that would include the community college districts. And these are in the hierarchy ballot order so that there's some consistency with how they're appearing on the ballot and how they're being represented. And then finally, down in the lower left corner, the signature challenges section is something that, I mean, it's hard to rate the things that I'm proud of here, but this is one of the top ones for me. We've determined a way in the statewide system to be able to gather data specific to signature challenges and then when those are cured. Curing is when you're resolving your signature challenge by providing sufficient evidence, proving that it was you that signed your ballot. So there are 3 different kind of scenarios for a ballot challenge. You're originally challenged because you failed to sign or forgot to sign, or your signature didn't match. We then mail a letter out to folks, and then folks have the opportunity to cure that or resolve the issue by providing sufficient evidence. If sufficient evidence is not provided, that challenge would be rejected. So this signature challenge area shows that as of the ballots that were processed yesterday, 12 voters forgot to sign their envelopes. 34 voters had a signature mismatch or discrepancy. Within 3 days, 72 hours of challenging a signature, our office will mail a challenge letter, which then triggers the opportunity for them to cure or resolve that. Anybody will be able to take a peek and see, of the ballots that were challenged, how many have been cured, how many of those cures have been rejected. This was a popular topic for discussion in the general election for folks. They wanted to see this data, and we didn't have a way to present that. We've commandeered some codes in the system, and we're making them work to create this. And so I'm really proud that we're the only county in the state that's tracking this information in this way and making it available for folks to see. So every day that we process ballots, at the end of the evening, we will generate reports. We will upload those reports to Tana and Allie, who they have been such incredible partners to collaborate with. This is really us collaborating every week to determine, can that be better? Can we do this? Can we do that? They have been absolutely incredible. This is a result of the hard work of them and our team. But we'll be able to really, every day that ballots are processed, the following workday, this information will be available. And so if you're following along with our meaningful observation, you can see the tentative schedule of activities, watch it on the live stream, and then see the results the next day. So it's a completely transparent process that everyone is able to view. That was the election dashboard, the results dashboard in a nutshell.
Can I just real quick, you
Please.
mentioned Tina and Allie.
Yes.
Those 2 individuals constitute our data and analytics office, which was a new office created 2 budget cycles ago, really to be able to do these types of things, right? To create, to capture data and then be able to use it both for our own decision-making as well as for access for the public to understand things that are happening, so.
Thank you so much for that. they're kindred election nerds, and they are so intrigued by this work, and so it's been incredibly great to work with them. And this will evolve as we're able to provide more data. Right now, really, this is mostly what is requested from our office, to see these things, and we want to present it in a way that is user-friendly and intuitive for folks to be able to see in a nutshell what it looks like. This will be a critically important post-election cycle when people are wondering about how many ballots are still out there that can be cured and counted. And so we've had many discussions about really being prepared for that post-election process and folks monitoring the challenge signatures. In addition to this, as part of the update, I just wanted to let everyone know that Thursday will be the very first public logic and accuracy test. A couple of weeks ago in our update, we reported that election workers marked a set of test ballots. That's considered a test deck. They go through and mark ballots to ensure that every candidate in every race receives a vote. Those are then run through the voting system, and we know what the anticipated results are because we use that specific algorithm to mark the ballots. So we do 3 public logic and accuracy tests each election cycle. The first is this Thursday. The next is right immediately before we start counting ballots. And the third is post-election. We run that same exact test deck through each time, and we're expecting the same anticipated results. And that's open to the public. It will also be live streamed, and we are starting at 10. So if you're interested in watching folks scan some ballots through some scanners, this is your opportunity. That's the update for this week. Happy to answer any questions.
Just a little clarification, kindred election nerds.
Yes.
That means you are actually an election nerd as well.
I do have a sweatshirt that says that.
You need to wear it to the next meeting.
Yes. Okay.
Been dying to.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board on this part of Ms. Mulcahy's presentation?
I don't have a question. I just want to say how impressed I am. This is really, as my kid would say, leveling up.
Yes.
We've never had this kind of data before, and I think the rest of the state's actually going to be quite impressed as well. I'm sure you're starting to share what you're going to be presenting, and this will be our first election with this kind of information. I do think a lot of people will be on this site, and I hope you can take that amount of activity on this site, especially as you get closer to any election. People are going to get really curious, and they're going to want to know at what time these things are updated each day. But it could be a lot of people coming to one site at one time, and I know that you'll be working with your folks in TS to be able to handle that. But this is really wonderful work.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Commissioner Lovall.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth. Elections, you're making fun. It's really great to watch your enthusiasm and what you're doing with it. It's also great to see the level of specific data that, in my brief experience of just running, has had people with conspiracy theories questioning the integrity of the election. So I think this is just a great quantum leap forward. And the other thing, too, that maybe isn't maybe a question, if not maybe a statement, is our experiences during the campaign is that some of the older people who were experiencing health issues or Alzheimer's or some of the, where their signatures have changed, some of those rectifications were a little challenging to make sure that the election office recognized that this was the person who was there, and because of health or other challenges, their signatures have changed. So I don't know if that's a question or a statement, but I'm just kind of wondering, going forward, how do we make that more accessible for those kind of folks?
Next week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we've been working on modernizing that process, and I was planning on providing an update about the modernization of the cure process next week, because we understand those hurdles and have improved opportunities for people to be able to cure their signatures. And this is something that most folks have been asking for in my discussions with constituents that are coming into the office. So I'm happy to provide an update on how, and we are as we've been modernizing other processes, that's one of the most important pieces for me. We had a lot of challenged signatures due to the data that's available in the system to compare. So when we're comparing signatures from the envelope to signatures in the system, there are some challenges with the quality of the data that was available. That will be resolved with the migration to the new voter registration system that the state is putting out, but also a lot of hard work that our team has been working through. So I hear that, and I'll be happy to give an update and happy to talk anyone through it at any point. But that's another piece that I'm really proud of the changes that we're making.
Good, awesome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further questions? Vice Chair Trieger?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I love everything about this.
Thank you.
And I will just, I think I said this when you first came to us about being a nerd. You know, nerds given a public platform to share their nerdiness are educators. And you're really helping the community understand how elections, how really strong, integrous election processes, what they look like. So thank you for doing that. And this website is phenomenal. I can't wait to get in there and play with it. To that end, when you say people can search by precinct number, I assume there's a precinct number finder. I know it's also printed on your ballot, right? But just for folks listening, how to find their precinct number as a way to search, because that's sort of the most drilled down.
Yes, absolutely. It will appear on the ballot label, and also through OregonVotes.gov. Any person can find their precinct and their districts, and also a call to the office or a visit to our website to look at your voter record.
Great. And just as a personal, I think I've mentioned this before, I one year had a signature match, challenge and had to have my signature cured because I just forgot whether my middle name or initial or neither was used, and I signed one way. It was different from my registration. It was very simple to get that cured. But I also recognize it was easy for me because I live nearby an elections office. I don't have mobility challenges. I had a flexible schedule. I could physically come in and do that. So I'm looking forward to hearing about how we're making that process even more accessible for others who might not have the circumstances I do and have their signature challenged. And finally, it was exciting to me to see exciting is the wrong word, the low turnout, but as you said, anticipated at this point. I forgot my I voted sticker because I'm one of those 1%. I am the only time I can say this, I am part of the 1%.
We keep them down there.
Thank you for that update.
On demand. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So from anybody else from the 99% for comments? Commissioner Seneca.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Then, I'm just going to say this. I love nerdliness, and the fact that you wrap your nerdliness like a shroud or a sweatshirt around you, I think that's fantastic.
Thanks. I'm
I'm a nerd, too. I'm a customer service nerd. I mean, and once you become a nerd on something like that, you pay attention to what other people are doing, and you judge yourself against them until you exceed what they're doing by so much. Then you begin to judge yourself against your own performance. And I think we're approaching that stage right now. In my work as a customer service nerd, we coined a phrase which is world-class customer service. And I think that we're taking a step in that direction under your tutelage and under your work. It's being demonstrated right now, and on May 17th, we can see how it falls into place. I'm excited to go through this process. And as I warned you or promised you before, I will not see you on May 16th. I won't see you much until May 16th, but on May 17th, look out for Voodoo Donuts.
Yes, sir.
Right on. Thank you very much for this
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
One nerd to another. Then, Mr. Murkowski, back to you. That is it. We'll give you another chance on item 12.
I'll have more at 5:30 tonight.
At 5:30, I hope so, because I'm counting on that. With that, we've concluded this morning's business to the Board of County Commissioners, so we'll go into recess. We'll reconvene at 1:30 with the time certain here in Harris Hall. We are recessed.